Hi everybody, welcome back to At Home Learning with Miss Ellis. Very briefly, if you are finding this video for your first time, this is meant to be a series of lessons for families to do at home with their children. It's meant to be interactive, so it's meant for you to do that together as a family, having at least one adult there to pause the video and facilitate the conversation. So I provide the lesson and the structure, and then it's up to you to really facilitate that and make sure your child or children are really getting the big ideas. So I will be asking you to pause and discuss, because often I sort of walk you through some possible answers to that question after talking about it. So it's better to really take that time to talk together. So welcome. Lesson 13. This is the beginning of a mini unit, a 4-book series that I'll show you. Here we go, 1, 2, 3, 4. So here are the next 4 books we're going to read. Before we begin, I always like to make sure we talk about genre. So the last 3 sort of mini-series we have done, right? Informational nonfiction, teaching you information about something. And then we did 2 different fiction genres, and they are both animal fiction or fantasy, depending on how you slice it. But basically, you know, real, not real. And so we're going to go into another mini unit also about real stuff, another nonfiction unit. And this one is another nonfiction unit about animals. And we're going to think first about something appropriate to what I'm wearing, because this part of my house is freezing cold. So I have a blanket over my lap, 2 jackets on, scarf, and gloves. So it is cold here, just like it is in the place we will be learning about. So we are going to be reading the first 2 books about the poles. And just in case you're not sure, if this is the Earth, the poles are the North Pole and the South Pole, or the Arctic and the Antarctic. So I'm not sure where you are watching this video from, but I live right about here on the globe. So I'm actually not terribly far away from the North Pole. So we get really cold winters. So if you imagine, if you live in a place that gets a really cold, maybe snowy winter, if you imagine living in a place like this or like this, where it is always that cold, pretty much. It's always windy and always snowy and always icy. Right? So really, really cold place. So our first turn and talk is going to be thinking about what that would be like. So if you're from a place that doesn't get that cold and snowy, you just have to use your imagination, or maybe things you've seen in videos or read in books. Try to imagine what it would be like if you lived in a place that was always cold, 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 and where the ground is pretty much always covered with ice or snow. What would that be like to live there, and what would be tricky about living there? So pause this video, talk about that, and then we'll come back together. So hopefully now you're coming back after talking about that together, right? What would be hard about living in a really cold place? So like right now, I'm solving my problem living in a really cold place. It's not as cold as the poles, but living in this cold place, I'm having to put on lots of layers to keep myself warm. Maybe that's one of the things you guys thought about too. And I bet you thought of a bunch of other things that would be tricky, like finding food, making a home, right? Lots of things are tricky when you're in a really, really cold, icy place. So we're going to be reading about how animals live in these really cold places. So the book we're talking about today, actually, before I start, take one last second to turn and talk. And think about animals that you already know of that live in these really cold places. So maybe you already know about penguins or whales or seals, right? Think about the animals that you already know that live there. Talk about them together. And then think about, okay, what is special about that animal that makes it so it can live there, right? Because if I took a giraffe and I put them in the Arctic, they wouldn't be able to do well there, because they don't have the right things in their body. So what is special about their bodies that makes it so they can live in these really, really cold places? So talk about that together. I wish I could hear you like I do in my classroom. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But pause here, talk about it, and then come back. So hopefully now you've talked together and you've brainstormed. Maybe if you yell really loud, I can hear. Oh, you had some really great ideas of the things that live in these cold places. The first animals I always think of that live in those cold places would be things like polar bears, things like whales, seals, penguins. And I know one thing that I think of all the time that these animals have is a lot of really thick fur. Just like I put on 2 coats today to stay warm out here to record these videos for you, those animals have, some of those animals have really thick fur. So that's one strategy I thought of, and I bet you thought of some great ones too. So now we're going to read a book called Hidden in the Snow. Now, we've already said that this is informational nonfiction, so that means this book is going to be trying to teach you something, give you information about something. Now, thinking about the cover, Hidden in the Snow, the illustration, what kind of information do you think they're going to teach us in this book, Hidden in the Snow? So maybe you noticed that word hidden. That's a pretty good clue. It tells us they're going to be talking something about hiding, right? Not being able to be found in the snow. And I don't know if you already know this really fancy word, camouflage. So camouflage talks about animals whose bodies kind of match where they live. So turn and talk very quick. How is this baby seal camouflaged? Did you notice how this seal is white, just like the snow? That's not by accident. Their bodies have grown over years and years and years to look like the snow to keep them safe so that predators, things that want to eat them, can't find them. They can't see them because they're blending in with the snow. So let's read a little bit. This is kind of a longer book than we've done before. So if at any point you need to pause and talk about it, please do. I definitely have a few breaks planned in here of questions I want to talk about or things I want to talk about. 2 things I want to suggest for the next mini unit. I'm going to suggest you start to make 3 lists. No, that feels like a lot, but one of those lists is going to carry on into other lessons too. So let me show you what those lists are. And these actually, some of these could be things you continue to use outside of these lessons here. The first one I'm going to suggest, this is one I think could be widely usable, would be to start a glossary. So as we discover some cool science words, to have your child or children write that word, or you guys can do that together as a family, or have one person write for the family, write that word, and then together come up with your own words of what would be a definition or an explanation of that word. So already, like we just talked about the word camouflage, so I would write the word camouflage here and then put my own words to describe what it is. Now, this sort of focus on vocabulary is really essential for building their ability to use that language. So they have found that you need to use a word, hear a word rather, about 30 times before you really start to own it. So the more we can explicitly target that word, you'll find opportunities to use that word. That's where that language really keys in. And the more they hear it, the more likely they are to say it. And the more likely they are to say it, the more likely they are to be able to read it and write it later on. So all of this stuff comes back together. So I strongly suggest this moving forward as a great tool to continue over at-home learning time. Any cool new words they're learning in any context can then go here. But it does mean as the adults, you're going to have to come back and check. You're going to have to refer back to it. You're going to have to try to find opportunities to use those words. Okay? The next one we're going to do, that's really most applicable in the next 4 lessons, is a list of features of nonfiction. So we're going to be talking about the features that authors use to organize their texts. So you probably want to keep a list of those things. I'll point out those opportunities as we go through the book. And then those are 2 that will sort of carry over. Then the third, I'm going to show you at the end. This is more of like a comprehension and extension task. So I would suggest you pause here and quickly come up with a plan. Maybe you want to start a little notebook, 1 page for this, 1 page for that. It's totally up to you, but those are 2 things that could help. So now let's begin. Here we go. Hidden in the Snow. Discover where nature's creatures are hiding. Ooh, look, there's a clue, a subtitle down below. Hidden in the Snow by Barbara Taylor. And look, there's our first feature of nonfiction. So if you decided to keep track, you might want to write down contents or table of contents, because this is a really important tool you might see at the beginning of a nonfiction book. And what they're doing is they're showing you the different parts of the book you're about to read, so that if you need to find a specific section, you can look here and find exactly what page it's on. So if I really wanted to learn about hunting, I would go to page 8. And the cool thing is that the words you see here match the headings at the beginning of each section that we'll see as we go reading. So we'll see more of this as we go through. So that could be a fun thing to do, is paying attention to the tables of contents in the books you have at home. And I'll put that reminder at the end as a suggestion. Hiding in the snow. Let me see, I'll do one page at a time here. Animals that live in cold, snowy places are good at hide and seek. The animals hide by blending in with their background. This is called, did you know it? What's that called? That's right, it's called camouflage. And there's that big, bold word. So that's another feature of nonfiction. This word is darker than the others. Can you tell? Even if you're not a big reader yet, you can still notice how much darker this word is. And that's not by accident. The author made that bold so that we know it's an important word to learn. And we're going to see that word later in the glossary of the book. Some animals are white to match the snowy ground. Baby harp seals, like this one, have white fur. They are born on the ice and stay there until they grow up. And now there's another feature down here. So far on this list in our features of nonfiction, we would have a table of contents, we would have bold words, and now we would have one more, captions. So a caption is telling us some more information about the picture. Baby harp seals keep very still so that polar bears and other hunters will not see them. That's a good tip. Rocky ground. Other animals, such as gyrfalcons, live in places where rocks show through the snow. They have brown, gray, and white patterns to match the rocks. So see this snowy owl here? Oh, that's a gyrfalcon, excuse me. See how it's not completely white? It's white, but it has a lot of other colors there too. And here's that caption telling us what's in the picture. Oh, and I forgot to point out, that's the heading, remember? I told you that the words that were in the table of contents would be at the top, and there's that heading. So our features of nonfiction would have 4 things. It would have table of contents, heading, bold words, and captions. So that's 4 things that help organize the information so that we understand it as we read. Thank you, sorry about that. A gyrfalcon flies close to the ground. It is looking for prey. And now here's another feature of nonfiction. It's called a fact box. This says animal talk. Animals that hunt and kill other animals for food are called, do you know that one? They're called predators. Give me a thumbs up if you've heard that word before, predator. Good, that's so important. That's such a great science word. So if you are doing a glossary, that's a great word to put on there, is predator. Now looks like there's going to be one more word because it's bold. There's the bold word, predators, and then look, there's another bold word down here. So let's read that sentence and see what that word is. The animals that they hunt are called prey. Good job. So there's predators and prey. Another caption. The Arctic wolf has pale fur that matches the white snow. So there's a lot going on here. This is a really complicated book, but you're doing a really great job keeping it all organized. We're learning about the features of the book that help us understand, and we're learning about the animals. Good for you. Okay, let's see if the next page has a new heading. It does. There's our new heading. Can you read that with me? As white as snow. The coldest places on Earth are called the coldest places on Earth are at the tops of high mountains and in the Arctic and Antarctic. Many animals have white fur or feathers. A snow petrel's white feathers help hide it from predators such as large seabirds. Now look at this illustration over here. It has a new feature that we haven't seen yet. Those are labels. So you could add that to your list of features of nonfiction. Sometimes authors put labels on their picture to tell you about the parts of it. So let's see what the parts of this picture are. So this label says white feathers. And this label over here says sharp eyes for spotting fish. Now, sharp eyes doesn't actually mean sharp like a knife. Sharp, when you're talking about eyes or eyesight, it means really good eyesight. So like people have fine eyesight, okay, but birds and a lot of other animals have much better eyes, much stronger eyes than us. They can see things really, really far away. So, so that's what they're telling us here, that the snow petrel is made to have white feathers to blend in with the snow and really sharp vision. There's a caption down here telling us about the picture too. A snow petrel is about the same size as a pigeon. Now, were any of you wondering about that? Because I know I was looking at that and I was trying to figure out if it was a really big bird or a small bird, but about the size of a pigeon, that's not too big. Here's the next section, mountain sheep. Doll sheep live wild on snowy mountains in winter. The sheep move down the mountain to keep warm. Wolves try to catch them, but the white sheep disappear like ghosts in the snow. Now, is the book telling you they actually disappear? Like a magic show? No, they don't really disappear. They're saying they're hard to see. It's as if they disappeared. Because of their coloring, it's hard to see them. So they disappear like ghosts, right? So they're gone. So you can't really tell where they are. And there's more labels telling us about parts of the goat. So sheep, excuse me. So let's see. Curved horn, rough pads on feet for gripping slippery slopes. That's kind of a tongue twister. Gripping slippery slopes. There's another fact box. Hide and seek. How many snow petrels can you count in the photo below? So I'll hold this up to the camera for you for a second. See if you can figure out how many of those birds can you see in the picture. I'm not sure how many there are, but I definitely see 1, 2, 3. I think that's another one, 4, 5, 6 maybe? Is that kind of what you got? I don't know. Okay, let's see what's next. Ooh, a new heading telling us what this section's about. Remember how I said if I wanted to learn about hunting, I could go to page 8, and there it is, page 8, and this section is about hunting in the snow. Do you know the name of those animals in the picture? Good job. Those are wolves. Those are special wolves, though. They're called Arctic wolves because they're made to live in the Arctic. You got it. Here we go. Let's read about them. Predators need to get close to their prey to catch a meal. Hunted animals can run very fast, so they may escape before they are caught. Arctic wolves hunt together in groups called packs. Now look, that's another bold word. So maybe you want to put that on your glossary. Packs, talking about what the word packs mean. But that means it's another word that's important to know and might be in the glossary of this book. Their white fur blends in with the snow. It's hard for animals they hunt to spot these white predators. And there's a caption telling us about the picture. Arctic wolves can get close to their prey without being seen. So kind of like we heard that the sheep kind of disappear because it's hard to see them, they're saying the same thing about the wolves. I wonder if you've ever seen this animal before. This is called a snow leopard. One day I would love to see a leopard in person, but I haven't seen one yet. Have you? Well, here we go, snow leopards. Snow leopards have gray fur with dark gray circles. So why do you think their fur is gray with dark gray circles instead of white? If you think really carefully, I bet you could figure out What might be different about the habitat where the snow leopard lives compared to the habitat where the Arctic wolf lives? What might be on the ground where an Arctic wolf lives? And what might be on the ground where the snow leopard lives? Can you tell? Well, they're going to tell us. Let's read. Snow leopards have gray fur with dark gray circles. These hunters are almost invisible amongst the gray mountain rocks. So that's how you can tell a little bit about where they are, or where they belong, really, because their coloring matches the rocks instead of the snow. So you can tell they spend a lot of their time around rocks, whereas you can tell these guys don't spend as much time around rocks. They spend more of their time where there's snow. A snow leopard, oh, bold word, important word to know. A snow leopard stalks its prey. That means they follow them. They follow them until they can catch them. It slowly creeps closer, keeping as quiet as possible. Animal talk. A pack of wolves, oh sorry, I'm reading the fact box over here. A pack of wolves can catch an animal much larger than themselves. Snow leopards cannot roar. Did you know that? I just learned that right now. They purr instead. That's kind of fun, picturing a big cat like that purring. And then here are labels telling us about parts of the snow leopard. Let's see what it says. Thick fur keeping warm. Thick fur for keeping warm. Just like I told you about at the beginning. They have thick fur to keep them warm in that cold. Let's see. Long tail for balancing. Did you know those cats use their tail to balance? That's kind of neat. Okay. Sorry, I'm making a note. I thought of another idea for you. So that was our hunter section. Let's see if the hunter section continues. Nope, we've got a new section. This is called Great White Bears. Polar bears are the biggest white animals in the world. Polar bears hunt for seals, which usually swim under the ice that covers the sea. Look, there's one waiting. Seals make holes in the ice so they can come up to breathe air. The polar bear waits next to the breathing hole. The bear's white fur camouflages it from the seal. So there's that word camouflage that maybe you put in your glossary. So that's what's really great is once you start noticing those words, paying attention to them and writing them down, you're going to hear them all over the place. Let's read the caption for this picture. It says, a polar bear lies very still as it waits for a seal to pop its head out to breathe. Fact box. Bear facts. A polar bear weighs as much as a small car. That's huge. A polar bear may wait for 4 hours beside a seal's breathing hole. Now, imagine that for a second. It's time for dinner. Your family calls you to the table, and you have to sit there waiting for your dinner for 4 hours. That's like 10 TV programs, 2 movies. You have to sit there for that long before your dinner is served. Not a great idea, is it? Surprise attack. The polar bear pounces on the seal and drags it out of the water. After feeding, the bear cleans its fur by swimming in the water or rolling in the snow. A polar bear rolls in the snow to clean its fur. Polar bears don't feel the cold. Now we've got a couple labels here. Thick fur and fat for keeping warm. Look at that one. Furry soles on paws for gripping the ice. That's kind of like what we read about the sheep. They had sort of furry pads too to keep them warm and to grip. Ooh, a new section, a new heading. Hiding from hunters. Hunted animals use camouflage too. Hiding from a scary predator is one of the best ways to stay alive. Snowshoe hares often live in groups. If a predator comes near, the hares keep really still. But if the hunter gets too close, the hares scatter. So that could be a cool word to put on your glossary, the word scatter. Scatter means to all like spread out in all different directions. If the hunter gets too close, the hares scatter. Then the hunter can't decide which hare to follow. Let's see if I can get you close enough to read those captions with me. So this caption says, 3 layers of fur for keeping warm. That's kind of like me right now. I have on a t-shirt and then a jacket and then another jacket. So they have 3 layers of fur. So they have probably softer fur near their body, and then another layer outside of that, and then a longer layer outside of that. So all those layers help keep all that warmth inside. There's one more caption here. This one's, or label. This says, big furry feet stop the hare sinking into the snow. No camouflage. Marmots, which are this animal right here, sleep safely in burrows during the snowy winter. They don't need white camouflage. Musk oxen, which are these big guys here, don't need white camouflage either. Adult musk that is hard to say. Musk oxen. Adult musk oxen are so big with huge horns that no animal attacks them. So look at that. Try to remember, turn and talk. What are the 2 different reasons that these animals don't need camouflage? Turn and talk. Pause the video. Did you find them? The marmot doesn't need camouflage because, yeah, they sleep in a burrow. And so they won't ever come out when the ground is completely white. So they can camouflage still. And then the musk oxen, why don't they need camouflage? Yeah, they're just so big, nobody attacks them, so they don't need to hide. And there's some labels here for the musk oxen. Long, thick fur, horn. Then there's a caption for both of these. The marmot is looking out for predators. Adult musk oxen use their big horns to defend their young. So now another fact box, animal talk. Marmots spend 8 months a year asleep in their deep burrows. So, ready? 8 months. Let's see. That's, if you imagine, from New Year's all the way through Valentine's Day, then all the way through St. Patrick's Day, then all the way through April vacation, then all the way through the end of the school year, all the way through till the end of summer, back until you come back to school in September. So that is an extremely long time to be asleep. Musk oxen stand in a circle around their calves, so their babies, which is another bold word. So maybe that's one that could go in your glossary, to protect them. So I know this book is a bit longer than some of the others, so if you need to pause here and take a break, please do. I'm going to keep going. Babies and chicks. Baby animals are small and can't defend themselves, but babies are often left alone while their parents find food for them. Reindeer calves are very small when they're born in the summer. Their plain brown fur blends in, which means they're sort of camouflaged, with the brown ground, and it keeps them safe from hunters. Here's a little caption. Baby reindeer have long legs so that they can keep up with the rest of the herd. Okay, another fact box. 1 day old reindeer calves, so what they're saying 1 day old, that means the day they are born or the next day after they are born. Reindeer calves can run faster than a person. So imagine if when humans are born, when baby humans are born, if right away it can run super fast, faster than a car. That's kind of what it's like. An eider duck, which is on the next page, pulls out her fluffy feathers to line her nest and keep her eggs warm. So here's a picture of an eider duck. Up here it says mothers and chicks, few trees. So that can be tricky for kids sometimes. It's not saying a few, it's saying few trees. So there are very few trees that are able to grow there. So that's just an important phrase to sort of get used to, few something. Just making sure you understand that they're saying that most trees can't grow there and only some can. And when you look around, there aren't a lot of trees. Few trees grow in very cold places, so most birds make their nests on the ground. Female birds usually sit on the nest to keep the eggs warm. These birds need to be well camouflaged. So that's why this eider duck isn't white, because they wouldn't put their nest in the snow, right? They have to find some ground somewhere to put their nest, like over here. So they want to blend in with the ground. Here's a caption. The chick and egg of an Arctic tern are well camouflaged. Another caption down at the bottom. These eider ducklings follow their mother wherever she goes. Ooh, this one's really cool. Light and dark. Many animals that live in cold oceans have light tummies and dark backs. Puffins dive underwater to catch fish. When a fish looks up, it cannot easily see the puffin. The puffin's white belly blends in with the light sky. When a predator flies above a puffin, the black back of the puffin is hard to see against the dark water. So that's pretty clever. If you imagine looking up into the light, you would be hard to see something light colored, and looking down into the dark, it would be hard to see something dark colored. So it's a pretty clever adaptation. Puffins can swim underwater as well as fly in the air. Let's see what these labels say. White belly and breast, webbed feet for swimming. Do you know the name of this guy? Some people say killer whale, but their real name is an orca. So let's see what it says about orca. The light and dark patterns of an orca hide it against the patches of light and dark in the ocean. When it's seen from the side, the orca disappears against this background. So again, just like they said for sheep, they don't actually disappear, but they're saying that it looks like it's not there because of the camouflage. Let's see the fact box. Puffins are sometimes called sea parrots because of their colorful bills. So bill is another word for beak. Look at those colorful bills. Pretty little beaks there. And then one more. An orca is actually a type of dolphin. Oh my gosh, we call them killer whales, but really they're dolphins. This one's really hard to see because the page is so dark. Orcas live and hunt in groups called pods. All right, we've got some labels here. Blowhole for breathing, flippers for steering, wide tail for swimming. Changing color. Some animals have white fur in winter. Then it changes to brown fur in summer. Look at this. That's the same animal. Sometimes it's white when it's snowy, and then it turns darker. Let's read more about that. Some animals have white fur in winter. Then it changes to brown fur in summer. The fur changes to match the color of the ground. In winter, snow covers the ground. The Arctic fox's white fur is hard to see against the snow. Its furry coat is very thick and keeps the fox warm. So here's a caption. White fur helps an Arctic fox to get close to its prey. That sounds a lot like what they said about Arctic wolves. Summertime. In summer, the snow melts and the ground is covered with rocks. The Arctic fox's fur changes from white to brown to match the rocks. To change color, furry animals lose their old fur and grow new fur in its place. So imagine 2 times a year, all your hair falls out and you have to grow all your hair back. every year twice. And you get one color hare for wintertime and a different color hare for summertime. Unbelievable. That's a lot of work for your body. All right, let's read our fact box. The Arctic fox hunts Arctic hares. How many Arctic hares can you spot in this photo? Let's see. I hope you counted. Let me see. Let me try. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 maybe? Is that about what you got? That's hard. Okay, we've got a label and a caption. Big ears for hearing prey under the ground. This fox has some of its white winter fur and some of its brown summer fur. Can you see where it has white fur? Most of it's brown, but can you see where it has some white fur still? Good job. Now, that's the end of the pages we're reading. I'm going to show you those other features. So if you are keeping track of the features of nonfiction, here's a couple more. So the first one is what I'm asking you to do, to keep a glossary. So all of those words that we discovered as we were reading, Antarctic, Arctic, burrow, calf, camouflage, horn, pack, predator, prey, and stalk, all of those words here are explained. So in case you weren't sure what those meant, they're telling you, oh, these are important words to know, and this is what they mean. One more feature is the index. So the index is kind of similar to that table of contents we saw at the beginning, where the author is showing us the sections. So I knew I wanted to learn about hunters, so I could go right to that page. This is like that, except it's even more specific. So if I knew I specifically wanted to find out about one hunter, not just hunters in general, but I know I want to find out about wolves, then I would look here in alphabetical order for the word wolves. Oh, look. And then it tells me all the pages I can go to learn about wolves. So an index is really, really helpful. And you'll find as you get older and you do more and more tricky books, there's going to be longer and longer indexes at the end of the books, giving you lots of specific pages to check. So there was so much in there. Whoa, is your mind just bubbling with ideas? So pause here. Talk about what you learned, talk about what you're thinking, and then come back to me. So hopefully now you have been talking together about that book, because that was so much awesome information. I'm curious to see if you've had any luck with a glossary, features of nonfiction. Now this is the first suggestion I'm going to make now that we're done reading. This is how I'm going to suggest that you organize your information. So I'm going to suggest, if your child is really, really interested in the content of the book, right? If they're just like, oh my gosh, I need to know more about these animals and their adaptations, I would suggest you start a chart like this. Now, I have the first two habitats we're going to do, and then I put another one on here just in case your child really gets into it and you want to make more. Maybe you want to research rainforest habitats or ocean habitats and all the adaptations animals have for there. So what you would do here is write down, okay, what were some of the specific things that we learned about in that book that their bodies had or their behavior had to keep them safe in that habitat. So if you choose to do this one, my suggestion would be to actually replay it all and go back and together, okay, we're listening just for what animals do to survive in that habitat, and then pause, write it down. Listen again, pause, write the next one down. So that's my advice to keep a good list here. The next thing I'm going to suggest is, since we spent a lot of time on the features of nonfiction, a really good and very useful time. Now, I do this every year. Every grade I teach, I do this every year. Take time to look through the books that you have for features of nonfiction. So just to remind you, the features that we've already seen, we saw a table of contents, we saw headings, we saw bold words, fact boxes, captions, labels, a glossary, and an index. Now, there are other features of nonfiction, but those for me are the essential ones to really help you understand nonfiction text and unpack it so it's not a mystery. So my suggestion, go through the books you have and just look through them together. See if you can find those. Hopefully you have kept your list and you can sort of refer to that. See if you can find any of those features in any of the books that you have, because the more you get used to looking for them, the more it breaks down kind of how books work, and they're less confusing when you open up a new text. The next idea I have for you as an extension from this activity is there's a really fun game you can play where you sort of are like a pack of wolves. So it doesn't sound as fun as it is now that I'm saying it out loud, but it's basically like tag, except you have a wolf and then the prey. So maybe it's reindeer or antelope, or you pick what the pack animals, the other animal is going to be. And so one wolf is trying to catch some of the prey, and once the prey has been caught, they join the pack and they become part of the pack of wolves. So it's kind of a fun movement activity. If you're getting kind of antsy but inside for a while, you can give that a try. Another game you can play is camouflage hide and seek. So a lot of what we learned about in this book was how their body is specially adapted to be hidden. So what you could do is walk around your home and look for a spot that you might have some clothing where you could camouflage yourself. So for example, if you have a brown sofa, maybe go put on all your brown clothes and hide in that spot and see how well you can camouflage yourself. So what you could do as a family is if each of you pick one spot, get dressed up, try and camouflage, we'll see who kind of wins the championship, who did the best job of camouflaging themselves. And then my last idea for you would be to make a list of all the animals in this habitat. So kind of like this chart you saw here, without those words, but if you put, each name of every animal over here, next to it you could make a list of each animal's adaptations, how they are made to survive in that place. So thank you for sticking with me all the way to the end of lesson 13. I know that was a long one, and we're going to do one more of this series later. So this will come up again. I hope that it was doable for you and you enjoyed it. And I look forward to seeing you again, lesson 14.